Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Bonnie Violet, trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain.
And I'm Pacey, a trans masc, non-binary, mental health, and recovery advocate.
And welcome to Transjoyboise podcast, where every story, laugh, and act of joy is a stand for our community.
We uplift bold voices, share real experiences, and celebrate trans lives thriving.
Tune in, connect, and spread the joy, because trans joy is what? Unstoppable. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
No, I just was looking because like my lanyard just looked like my fly was open. I was like, "This, we're a mess today."
I know. I mean, I was like on my knees setting up some stuff, and so now I have red knees. So I guess we're just batting 1,000 today, huh?
Yeah, I got my Ace Ventura hair. We're great.
That just shows we're normal. Well,
ish.
Normal-ish.
It's beautiful outside. I think I just am getting a slow start to the day.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe we record at noon, and because the lighting's a little bit better, and it just doesn't feel like noon yet.
No,
to me, it feels like it's like 9 or 10. But yeah, and we had hope. We're really working on having guests more often. We don't have a guest this week, so it's just gonna be us. So you guys are stuck with us this week, which I think is okay. Yeah, and we were gonna start off with something a little different. We're gonna do a little tarot. I do tarot reading. I'm very amateur, and I know it seems problematic that I'm like a white girl who does tarot. I think that's problematic. I don't know. I have some self-consciousness about it, but I get a lot from it personally. I love pulling tarot cards, and I've even read my friends' tarot cards and stuff. And it's very more for me like an intuition kind of thing. And it just helps me kind of frame what's going on. And so I pulled a card earlier this week, and it really kind of spoke to me. And I think really spoke to like the broader community. So it was kind of the first card I pulled, which oftentimes for me is like a card that talks about like where we're at right now. And kind of like assessing that. And so the card was the King of Pentacles, which this deck is the Next World Tarot by Christy C. Road, which I love this deck. It's very and I know it's not going to look great, but you'll just have to look it up yourself. It's great. But there's basically, it's very social justice oriented, very queer, very intersectional. So I really love the heck out of it. So I pulled the King of Pentacles, which is the throne of security. Is there what jumps out to you about that card?
Just the character.
Yeah.
And just the blue hair. I love that. Just the pins. It looks so alternative. And the little daddy, celebrity star.
Nice.
The jewelry in the hands. Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I was really drawn to the hair for some reason. I think because I'm in this my swoop era. Seeing the swoop there, I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, the Queen of Pentacles. No, the King of Pentacles. See, I'm just fucking just went through a little transition there. That was quick. Okay, the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is a triple threat with a heart of gold strutting shamelessly down the path of resistance. A singer, actress, and mother, the king understands multiple angles of survival. The king mother. The need to compromise your truth in order to feed yourself, the need for speaking that truth because you've cultivated security, and the need to navigate both. The King of Pentacles asks you to forgive yourself for the journey you are on. There are times when we have to survive. We have to work. We have to rewrite our dreams in order to breathe. The King of Pentacles asks you to see those times as the times your internal warrior furthered its trek up your spine and into your third eye. The seat of awareness, protected by the High Priestess, into a fully enlightened, strong, powerful force with capability to navigate change, silence, and freedom.
Oh, that one's really good.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to the complexity, and I think it empowers how we're experiencing things right now. Because I think in talking about our previous podcasts, you can hear a lot of us having to compromise in certain areas or not, having to really consider what we need to do in order to survive, right? While also continuing to kind of challenge and fight and seek liberation.
And grow.
Yeah. What stood out to you?
Just exactly that. Just the fact that we have to, forgive ourselves for the path that we're on. I think that's beautiful. And to me, that kind of speaks to the aspect of grief that we're dealing with right now, that we kind of spoke with Nixon about last week, that there's so much mourning involved in what's going on right now that I feel like we don't even necessarily have time to address, because it's just this constant battle, this constant fight. Did you hear about this headline? Did you go to this rally? Did you hear about this hearing? And you can't really come to terms with how much we're losing. And I think that personally for myself, like I almost feel like that's a privilege to take the time to mourn those things, because I feel like I should be putting my energy somewhere else. And I feel like that's very backwards.
Well, and even kind of taking it back to when Blake was on, and they were talking a lot about like how like rest is so important right now. And I think that's an element for it that I sometimes struggle with, is like there's so many things that we can go do. There's rallies, there's actions, there's groups, there's this, and I can't do them all. And like and I know that reasonably I don't need to do them all, but there's a part of me that feels like I want to be in more places and be a part of some of these things, but I just don't always have the spoons. Because I'm also having to show up for like people in my life, or the bills, or like having to do other things. And so it's like this balance of like all the things. Definitely. And I really thought this was, I don't know, when I pulled it earlier as my first card, I pulled a full deck for the week, but like this one really stood out as far as like my right now. So I don't know, maybe we'll try it again in the future. I don't know, but
yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't know really where I fall on it. I think it's really fun, and it's kind of the mindset of like, for me, similar to like manifestation, right? Either manifestation is a real thing, or maybe the people who manifest things are more likely to be driven and going out to make those things happen for themselves. So this is kind of similar for me.
Well, and I think oftentimes what is helpful for me, and one of the things I notice in all the different sorts of practices that I've experienced or witnessed, a lot of it, I think a lot of about like maybe not like spiritual intention or intention to connect or be grounded or to feel good. It's almost like the intention that's the biggest key, is like setting aside the time and really focusing on this, that, or the other, and however way you want to like label it, right? And I think sometimes like tarot and horoscopes and like sacred books and even non-sacred books, like things that we can do are just, I think they just help prompt us, because we see the world through our eyes and our own perspective. And so like we both look through this card, and there are certain things that jumped out to us or not. And sometimes the card is what jumps out more on there. It speaks to me. And sometimes it's what's said. And again, just like a lot of sacred texts or things, is you can take something different from it every time, because you're coming at it from a different perspective. Or maybe you're seeking, you're seeking strength, or you're seeking this, that, or the other, that you're going to kind of see that in whatever it is that you do. And so I think just any sort of exercise or activity helps me focus and hush out all the stuff, because otherwise I'm like all over the place and then I'm overwhelmed. So this sort of stuff kind of helps me like.
That's a good point. I need to incorporate more things like that where I can just be intentional, because I'm all over the place. Like my ADHD just makes it even worse. It's just being able to focus on one thing would be really nice.
I've definitely been really challenged emotionally and mentally and spiritually in this time. And so I've had to really like stop and kind of reacclimate. And so I met with a therapist that I'm going to start working with, which I'm really excited about. They're non-binary, and they're in Idaho, and they focus in like trauma and transition, and they work with ketamine, and they work with EDMR. And so I'm really excited to work with them. They are in like some other small town in Idaho, so we're not going to ever be in person, but I'm still really excited to meet them, and they seem like a fairly intuitive person. And so it was nice. We just got started. And then I just started journaling every week, every morning. I get up first thing and I write just whatever kind of comes to mind and light some incense or something. But I've been really needing to try to find that balance, because then I'm really trying to do it whether I'm like sleeping at my boyfriend's house or I'm sleeping at my house, or we're going to be traveling a lot coming up, and like I really want to try to keep some of those practices to help me feel a little bit more grounded and like in my body and with myself, because I can get really things can get really chaotic.
I think so too. And that's like on a good day. Things can get chaotic, and it's not. And now everything's kind of falling apart around us. It's like, of course, it's going to be more of a challenge. That just takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, it really does. What sorts of things have you been doing?
I have just been doing that fitness challenge.
Yeah, I mean, the gym is really good for...
Yeah, the gym helps a lot. I go every day. I do 2 different kinds of exercise every day. And I eat really clean. I drink a lot of water. And it's exhausting.
But you're doing it. I'm impressed. You're doing it.
Thank you.
Almost every time we get together, you're either got back from the gym or you're going to the gym.
I'm going to the gym right after
going
this.
To Chipotle.
We're going to Chipotle,
Get some food.
Chipotle has a macro calculator on their website. So if you're, trying to lose weight or gain muscle, and you're tracking your macros, you can still go there. And that has been a godsend for me.
Yeah. And it's not crazy expensive, no?
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad.
I feel like sometimes that's the thing that can feel a little burdensome, is like when you're eating like that, or diet stuff. It seems like it can seem expensive or something, especially if you're dealing with like supplements or high protein, or I don't even know that stuff.
Yeah, but I spend all of my money on like protein instead of all of like the snack food and the junk that I used to eat, and that's pretty expensive. So it comes out pretty even. The things that cost the most are, like you said, like the protein powders and things like that.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, and we talked a little bit about more groundedness and a little bit of the chaos. So speaking of chaos, I saw a lot of chaos on social media last night and this morning in regards to the Boise city, right? City of Boise elected to make the rainbow flag one of Boise's city flags.
Yes.
And it passed, I believe, 5-1.
5-1.
And you were there, and I know there was a lot going on. There was like the hearing itself, but then there was kind of like, I don't know, protesters or supporters outside. And that's kind of where you were, right?
I was in both. Okay. So I got there really early, and people started to show up, and there were significantly more people for it. So a bunch of like our friends, people that we know, but there were quite a few of people that were protesting it. And everyone was outside. They had their signs. We were drawing with chalk. There were people that were open carrying their guns. One guy was open carrying like a Glock, and it was painted as the American flag. Another guy was open carrying an AR-15. I saw a bunch of those Appeal to Heaven flags, a bunch.
Right.
Fucking disgusting. And that was just that was absolutely chaos outside. But then I don't think everyone knew that you could go inside to like watch the hearing, but we wanted to get as many people that were for it inside as possible. So that way like the council could see that we were really supporting this.
Right.
And it was packed in there. Like all of the seats were taken, and there was a ton of people just standing in the back.
Oh wow.
And it was great. Like the council members would kind of speak on their thoughts on it, what this meant to them, and then they would say if they were for or against it.
Right.
And there were people that were being really unruly in the crowd. There was one woman it was unbelievable. Like she was swearing, and she was getting in people's faces, like trying to fight people. And just saying, this is bullshit. This flag doesn't represent blah, blah, blah. The American flag represents everybody. And like,
yeah, the American flag that you have on that gun over there.
Exactly. Yeah. But the thing was, like, one of my friends saw her leave, and she had a 2C license plate. So, and like even because after all of this, when everyone left, it was very convenient that a lot of the people that were causing the biggest scenes, they waited until everyone left so they could do all their bullshit basically unopposed.
Yeah.
So once everyone left, but of course, like my dumbass hung around. So I was there, and there was this guy, this same tool bag that covered the pride flag and the organ donor flag and raised the Appeal to Heaven flag. He dressed as a priest. And he had, like I said, not Adam and Steve on it.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, he was carrying a giant wooden cross. and then he put the pride flag on it and he burned it.
Oh wow! So he put the gay flag on the cross like Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, what's that say?
I don't know. It was.
That seems very. I mean, putting it on a cross was deliberate.
Yeah.
But I did see him like trying to light it with like.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad.
Well, it was a plastic flag.
Oh.
So it melted. It did, like, there were some times when it would, like,
go up for a second.
but it didn't. Like, there were basically 2 holes.
Yeah.
That burned, and then that was it.
They needed to get some tips from one of the theater queers or drag queens or something. Would have been like, "Did you try that at home first?"
Right.
It's always the worst when a prop doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
A wardrobe.
They were roasting him for it, and there was one person there, an activist who I don't think would be upset if I share the name, Rowan, and they do like fire stuff all the time. So Rowan was just like, "You can't. You're not even burning it right." Just like roasting this man, and it was a thing of beauty. That part, but it was
and like
a
good.
lot.
I mean, good on them. I mean, like if they want to burn a flag, burn a flag. Like that's part of our right as
part of our First Amendment.
Exactly right. And I know I saw Rowan in particular. I saw them ripping up tearing up like to heaven. What is that? To heaven.
An appeal to heaven.
Appeal to heaven flag. So it felt like I don't know. It felt like a response to that as well.
When I see that an appeal to heaven flag, I get irrationally angry. Like it just triggers something in me because I think it's the dumbest shit.
It's not even like pretty.
No, cute. It's so boring. Like some idiot was just like, just put a tree on it. It's like it's not creative at all.
It doesn't say heaven to me.
No, right? It's like it originated in the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
And an appeal to heaven.
Of course it did. Because they're all stuck in this. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just like they're patriot.
They're stuck in this like make-believe past that's just like
that they're like the
same people who
tough
like
patriots.
Flag, probably.
But it essentially meant that like an appeal to heaven was that God would deliver them from tyranny. So seeing all of this, I'm left to interpret that their definition of tyranny is a pride flag.
It's not Trump. And it's not Trump.
No.
Huh.
Yeah, but there's another upsetting thing about that fucking flag. On starting January 1st, 2026, that is going to be a specialty license plate in Idaho.
Wow.
An appeal to heaven one. And we already have, starting January 1st of this year, we have the Don't Tread on Me specialty license plate.
Oh, wow.
I've yet to see one of those, surprisingly, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like this is the trend that Idaho is just like really digging in to their, what is it, the Al-Qaeda bullshit.
It's just so wild to me too, because like in some ways it's like I think to talk about last night was like a win, right? In a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
The fact that and the thing of it is like the city of Boise wouldn't have needed to make the rainbow flag a city flag if the state didn't decide they wanted to have an opinion on what a city could waive or not waive.
Exactly.
It's like
HB 96.
Because like, yeah, it's just like, I mean, all of it is just a response to what's happening. So it's like, I don't know. It's really wild to me how things have gotten, and it's kind of all over the place. The last episode we talked about the indecent exposure, and that's like, to me, like that's really bad and like really horrible and not okay in the slightest. But then we have like wins like this with the, and a part of me was thinking like, why would 2C folks care or why? But I think I am curious to hear, and maybe this is something that people can do in our comments on YouTube or even on our podcast, is if you don't live in the Boise area, what are your thoughts on what's happening here? And how do you think if it is or isn't impacting where you live? Like, I'm really curious about other cities in Idaho in particular. But I know that we've been making a lot of national news lately.
Yeah.
One for this, we've made it for like another great thing, which I think I have I don't know. There's the Hetero Awesomeness festival that's coming up during Pride Weekend. And I know there's a lot of like, me personally, I'm just kind of like, let them do it. Like, I don't need to bother. I know there's a lot of different actions that are happening So folks are wanting to take some sort of action. I know they're chalking, and they're doing some chalking, I think, both days of the festival. But for me personally, I just feel like they're trolls.
Yeah.
The whole festival is a troll. And so like I think to really like, for me personally, to like go over there and spend my time and energy on it feels like that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, I just feel like I'd rather go to Queerly Featured.
Yeah.
Because that's the same weekend.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of their stuff, I have to look closely, and we're a collaborator.
Yeah, the Queerly Arts Festival.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked for that.
I am too. And we'll put a link below so that you can kind of check that out. But it's kind of like a queer festival. It's the first time. And there's like, I think 3 to 4 days.
I think 3
days of like shows and art and vending, and it's going to be really cool. And I think in a lot of ways it's going to be like a queer fest, queer pride.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and the performers involved are really talented. The VAC is great. I love the VAC.
Yeah. So I'd be like spend the day.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't know. That's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to try to spend more energy with the Queerly Featured group, the Queerly Arts, maybe. I don't want to, I'm messing up the words. I'm sorry, Muff, Xander, everyone. But we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Not in my words, but at least in
the links.
In the print. And I'll get better at it, I promise. But yeah, I think that's the way I feel like. But I mean, I know like you might have a different take, and I would never get in the way of somebody like I don't ever want to be like I'm shitting on people who are choosing to respond in that way. For me personally, it's just like, and I kind of just feel like it's contrary to like, we want to have a pride festival and we don't want people to fuck with us. So part of me is just like, so why fuck with them? But I also understand why, because that's what it's all about. Like, they're wanting people to come out and have that sort of experience. I think
it's so nuanced. It's
I agree.
I think that, like, yes, ultimately I agree with you. Like, we want to just have our own thing. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want protesters there. We hate that shit. So like, why can't they do that? I agree with that. But especially after events like last night, I don't feel like they're getting together to celebrate being straight.
No, they're not.
They're getting together.
They want to go us.
It's like in response to us. And after last night, like, these people are violent. They're so full of hate. And I hate my response to it because I got fired up, and I don't want to be someone that just gets reactive.
Right.
But it's so hard not
to. Well, there's so much. I mean, I just watched it online, right? And there's just so much like chaotic energy. Like, if you were just hearing the voices, you would have thought there was maybe some sort of like physical fight, or if you were just listening to the audio, and because there was just such chaos, the language, the vitriol, just the energy in it. And I mean, I could understand. I mean, it's gonna put people into that like fight or flight kind of mode. So I think it'd be really easy for us to like, try to match it.
It's hard not to. And in the moment, you forget, like, nothing I say is going to change their mind. Because logically, like with social media, I know that. But when you're in the moment and you're being attacked verbally by these people, like, you forget and you just go into, like you said, like fight or flight, and I fight, you know. And I think that when it comes to the hetero awesome thing, regardless of what people are going to do, I think that they just need to try and not be harmful in what they do. Because one thing that I've seen, and admittedly, my first reaction was to laugh, was Boise Week, or in Boise, they have this annual contest where they do Boise Best. And the town votes on like the best cafe, the best bar, the best gay bar, all of these things. And for the best gay bar, the town, you know, gets to kind of vote on who gets to be listed and compete for it. And the town put the Old State Saloon as the best gay bar. And the guy that, he's the one who's putting on the Hetero Awesome Fest, and he's just this horrible fucking troll. He was there last night. And at first I was like, I laughed because I was like, that's going to make him fucking furious that everyone's like, oh, you're, you know. But then I read some people's comments on it, and like, there's another gay bar that didn't even get listed because of it. And I'm thinking now, if they win, if the town comes together and decides that this would be a really funny joke, that Old State Saloon is the best gay bar, I'm going to be fucking furious, because that's just another way that these fucking conservatives are coming in. They're winning, right? And they're just making a mockery of our lives. And not just that, but there are people who are new to the Valley. If they see that and they go, they're going to be in danger, because that is not a safe place for queer people to go.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, I think that's the thing that I'm thinking about. Like, the more that these people take up space in our lives, and the like, that's what they want to, I guess that's what they're choosing to do or whatever. And so, like, there's already enough that we're dealing with on the day-to-day for me. Like, I just don't have the capacity to go to that level. I understand that there's like probably some good energy to let go in those environments. And like I said, everyone's at different places and everybody responds to things differently. So I would never get in I would never want to disparage anyone who chooses to do or express themselves in whatever way kind of feels good to them. So I don't want to say that, but part of me just feels like we're giving them, they're getting a lot of our time and a lot of our energy, and they're taking up our spaces now, you know? And so I don't know. It's an interesting time. I almost would be curious to hear from like other people's perspective who's been around with the LGBTQ kind of like fight over the years. You know, be curious how our elders are experiencing this in comparison to like previous things.
It's interesting because I'm really proud of people as like tone deaf and, you know, not really thought out as it was. I'm proud that people are starting to do something. Because it has felt like for so long we're just kind of left to do it, to like fight for ourselves. So if we can use this energy that people are starting to get, this momentum of like, well, we want to make things difficult for them, or we want to whatever, and we could put that into something positive or something that actually will help or matter more. I think that it's a step towards the right direction. And I really want to kind of, you know, cultivate and encourage that spirit, but just kind of hope to lean it more towards something that isn't going to be harmful.
Well, and I feel like ultimately we've always historically worked toward progress, right? I do feel like progress always wins in the long run. Now, the ways that we get there is kind of funky, and I think that's more debatable. But I think we can also look at like the past civil rights movements, particularly if you think of like with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all that time. A big part of that, I think the power and what was so great about that was you had people at all the levels. You had the people that were a little bit more like in your face and wild and intense, even sometimes violent. And exactly. And then you had other folks that were trying to play the politics and the diplomat, and you know, and you had churches and communities of faith, and you had, you know what I mean? So I think it takes all of us in all of our little areas. And so to some degree, the fact that not like everybody is talking about trans people and queer people and like all that sort of stuff, I think in some ways is progress. And I think it will only lead to them knowing us more, which will lead to, I think, just more kindness and at least openness to us as a community overhaul. And we've seen that happen over and over and over. And I just think that, you know, trans and non-binary people are, and that's my limited perspective. It's kind of like we're the movement of the moment, if you will. But I think there's multiple movements in the moment too. So
I agree.
Like I think especially around like immigration and migrants populations.
I think it was a huge win, not only for Boise, but just for the movement in general. I think that, you know, now that we're starting to see this happen more, like, you know, what happened in Maine, where Trump was going to just stop giving them any funding until they complied with his anti-trans bullshit, and they didn't. And they won the court case.
Yeah.
You know, so we had that victory in Maine. That's a huge one. And now we have people like Mayor McLean in Boise who are finding these loopholes to fight back.
Right.
And I think that once other cities and other states are starting to see that more, they're going to be like, oh, well, we can fight.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be one of those things that other states are going to recognize and be like, okay, we can do things to fight this.
Yeah. No, I think it's great that the city's doing it. Yeah, I think it's great. I know at first I wasn't quite on, like, I'm like, whatever, but I don't know. I didn't understand the gravity of it, what it had. And I think the other thing I wanted to point out too, just because I think it can be a lot to think about all this, but that it was a very small minority of folks. Not that a minority group doesn't respect being seen, but like, I think it's important for us to realize and to remember that there's a small portion of people who feel so strongly against us. Yeah. Most people don't care. Right. They really don't care. The majority of people. Yeah.
But that minority is so
they're loud. And they're wild. They're a little out of control.
Yeah. They're
in power zealots. In some ways.
Yeah. They're the scary ones. And I think that, you know, as time continues to move on and more people are realizing that, you know, they were lied to by Trump and they're starting to learn, because I think a lot of the people that supported Trump genuinely didn't know what was going on, because like if you're some person and you don't have any queer people in your life, you probably have no idea about what's happening to us. And I think that all of this stuff is finally starting to surface. A lot of people are moving away from the whole MAGA movement, but the people that stay, those are the ones that are doubling down and they're getting violent because they feel like they're losing control.
Yeah. And we are like a minority group of folks, but it just feels like it's bigger than us right now.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Like, oh yeah. Because I was kind of thinking it's not just us that are a little uprooted and challenged by things right now. Or even I think some people are uneasy about the ways that we are experiencing.
Yeah. Well, life. I mean, it's so, you know, similar to what happened in the 40s, the 30s and the 40s. You know, people see that and they can't believe it. They can't believe that it's happening here, of all places.
Well, they're raiding bars now again, too. Yeah, like in Pittsburgh, there was that bar raid of basically just harassment. They basically just unloaded the drag show. And
but then the cops wanted to get pictures with one of the headliners.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Well, and some of that level is like, you know, I think because what did it say, like 20 police officers raided? Yeah. So it's like how many of those folks, though, wanted to be there, just had to be there because it was their order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got something in my
mind. But even, I don't know. I think that what's happening with the trans community is just, it symbolizes a bigger problem. And I think it really is highlighting all of the horrible traits and the direction that this administration is going. And it scares people, you know, because we all have taken history classes. We saw what happened. And like just another parallel, last night, there were people there in opposition of the flags who were openly saying that they didn't believe the Holocaust happened. One man was like, oh, my grandfather was Jewish, but I would believe that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? So it's just, it so is in alignment with the Nazi party, just this current administration. They can call it whatever they want, but you know, in 50 years, when students are learning about this time right now, they're going to look at those red fucking hats the same way that they do the swastika. Yeah. And you just like, that's going to happen. And the people that are proudly wearing them.
Yeah. Their grandchildren are going to be like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's just grandpa being grandpa.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's like we've been living through unprecedented times for so long now. I'm ready for boring.
Right. Yeah, and like we're like, and that's a lot of stuff that's happening locally. But one positive thing that's coming up is that we're we're getting to go to DC next weekend on May 17th. In DC, there, this is like the Freedom to Be Me calendar from the ACLU, and these are patches from basically there. I think. Do you remember how many patches there were from Idaho?
The panels,
or panels?
No, but they
like 12.
Every state had like a certain amount of panels that they would send out, and different. Was it just trans groups?
Well, in
support of
not
trans?
just in support of trans. So it's basically kind of like the AIDS quilt from the 80s, but trans.
Yeah.
And so Jenna and the crew worked really hard to get some folks from all over Idaho. And so like this is from the Reading Time with the Queens in Pocatello with Callie G and that crew there. And then this is Paige Gosney. I'm not quite sure where they're from, but basically they did their best to try to get folks from all over Idaho. And so basically every state attempted to do this. I don't know that they had, I thought I was reading it was like 30 some states, not quite all 50 states participated in this. And so next in DC on Saturday the 17th, they're gonna lay them all out on the lawn like they did the AIDS quilt. I think it's a different location, but it's still in the mall, like in the mall, what do they call it, the Capitol Mall. I've never been there.
You've
never been?
No, I've never been there.
That's gonna be so cool.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a few of us from the state that are getting to go. Preston and myself, and some other folks.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, and it's gonna be nice. I mean, I think it's gonna be nice to be kind of like around everybody in that moment. I don't know. They call it a monument, which I thought was kind of interesting too. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to kind of see what it's like and to meet other people from around the country. And I think also just to show people from around the country that like us in Idaho are like we're present and we're participating and we're free to be me.
And to be able to come back and show people here, you know, that there are so many people just like us all over the country that are fighting, and that we are certainly not just in like alone fighting here in like shit kicking Idaho.
So definitely check out our socials. I think we'll probably try to do some live streams and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Speaking of that, like we are almost, so we have a lot of kind of accomplishments with our podcast right now in some ways. So we had our 500th download last week. And then we had 50 episodes in 1 week download that's just for like our audio podcast, which we started after our YouTube channel. And then the YouTube channel, we're almost at around 350 subscribers there, getting more and more interaction and regular conversation day to day. Our TikTok, we are just a few shy. I think we're like maybe 10 shy from 1,000, which would allow us to live stream. I'd love for us to be able to live stream on our TikTok while we're there, as well as our Instagram, because that's where a lot of our communication happens. But I'd love for us to be able to go live. So if you're watching this and you don't follow us on TikTok, or you don't subscribe, or you don't like any of those sorts of things, please do. All that stuff just continues to get us out into more spaces with more people. And so I know it always feels like a weird plug, but it's kind of exciting to see. It's been slow and steady, this increase. I get to see the numbers a lot of the time just because I'm in it or whatever, but I'm really excited that we're kind of getting, and it's, you know, that's the way things go, is they start off slow and then they kind of build.
Especially social media. That's just the way that kind of the algorithm works. We might get an influx of trolls though, because I was on the news last night and they asked me our different where you could find us, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that you were on the news for us, huh? Yeah. And mentioned transjoyboise.
Of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if they I don't know if there's an article for it, but I would hope that they mentioned transjoy, because I was like, I'm with transjoyboise. Yeah. Yeah,
I definitely want to try to repost some of the stuff from last night on our other socials too.
I still have a headache from that. Yeah, but that's exciting. I think it's fun that we're growing and that we're getting these opportunities to represent Idaho and Boise. Because I mean, even though Idaho is so red, I love Boise.
Yeah,
I love Boise.
Boise's a special place, and I think it's a special time for us right now.
Me too.
I really do.
We're gonna have so much fun. I can't wait. We're gonna be so tired though.
Well, I know, like, since we don't need a sleepover there.
No.
It's going to be a fairly quick trip too. Sorry if I flashed, folks. It's going to be a fairly quick trip too, because
fly up,
fly back.
There Saturday, coming back the next day.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could somehow get you to DC at the end of the month for World Pride. And the National Trans Visibility March, because I'll be there for that, which is exciting.
Yeah, that would be so fun.
Yeah, and if I didn't get like sponsors and people like gigs, I wouldn't be able to go to these things either. But
that's so cool.
I want to try to find a way to like.
I need to
throw you my
sponsors. Luggage. Yeah, just bring like a crate and I'll just hide in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be really great. Yes.
Well.
What? Yeah,
I think.
Is that an episode?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I liked the tarot.
It was kind of like a nice little thing to add to it. And in upcoming episodes, we'll also be having next week, we'll have Van from Canyon County Pride. We're working on getting Rachel motivated, local amazing drag artist that I'm super excited to be getting her join us in the next few weeks. And we're continuing to kind of reach out to folks, and we'll be building more of a guest list. So keep an eye out, or if you have suggestions or you yourself would like to be on the podcast, reach out to us. And who knows, maybe you'll be sitting next to us sitting with us next time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be fun. I'm excited to have more guests for sure.
All right. It's so wild how we just kind of like wing these.
Yeah. I think it stresses the guests out a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, because there's no structure.
It kind of works, but
I
feel like there is a structure, but it is really just kind of like, I mean, I think for us, like we were like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, well, maybe we'll do a tarot, talk about the thing, and then it just kind of goes where it goes, you know?
I love it.
Yeah, it's always, I think for me, that's what it makes it. I mean, we're having a really honest conversation here. You know what I mean? It's not like rehearsed. It's not scripted. We're not like, okay, these are the questions, which I know for our guests is probably really stressful. They're like, do you have questions? We don't do that. I mean, we could, and we do have like a structure and idea.
An idea of what we want to talk
about.
But
for the most part, we just kind of let it happen.
Just wing it. Yeah. I like it.
Try not to control it.
It's authentic.
Yeah.
It comes across as genuine, I think.
Yes. I'm excited that we're going to start. Hopefully you guys might start seeing us look a little different. Not as in like I'm getting a boob job or FFS, but the podcast is going to. We're looking to get into like better mics and sound, and maybe changing our aesthetic a little bit. So
finally, been able to raise some money and get some upgrades with equipment and the set.
The set.
Yeah.
Yes.
AKA your living room.
Yes. They think we're in some bougie studio, right? Not so much. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Someday. No, I was gonna almost just like your roommate, just like randomly standing right there. Yeah.
Pan the rest of the room. Yeah.
It is lovely.
Yeah. Or the roommate comes out in like a robe or something. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, take care, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.